Okay, we're reconvening as the Wicomico County Council for January 6th, 2026. Legislative session, I think it's 01. Legislative session 2026-01. The next item on the agenda is a work session with the Pay and Compensation Committee in reference to salaries for the executive, the council, the sheriff, and there's even some mention in here on the Wicomico County Board of Education.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I would respectfully recuse myself from any discussions having to do with the Board of Education, as I have a close family member that's a Board of Education.
All right, we appreciate that. Who would like to begin the discussion? Well, we have a lot of recommendations. The first one I think we should review is the executive branch as far as what that recommendation was. Does anybody have any comments in reference to the recommendation that was made for that position? The current salary is $107,000. The recommendation was $109,000 with a $2,000 annual step increase.
I'll start the conversation off with saying the county executive stood at the podium at the last our last go around with the compensation committee and said that that salary was sufficient, that she didn't think that was any increase was needed. So
What about
I'll agree with her again. Very seldom do I agree with her. I will agree with her on that one.
what about the argument that in order to try to maybe have more possible people running for the position, that the salary needs to be there needs to be more they need to have more compensation?
Well, that's that's an opinion, and everybody's got one of those. But also is I feel that if it's just like the council, if they want to run and serve the community, it is a full-time job, and $100,000 plus a year what they're making now is probably is in line with a lot of what people are making in Wicomico County. So I'm not going to support that, any increase. So.
Any other comments? Josh, you have any comments?
I just say I generally don't think it's a good time for us to continue to be raising salaries just going into some potentially challenging times. I don't think it looks good. I don't think we need to spend extra money. But that being said, I completely agree. I made the argument 4 years ago that that we needed to attract the right county executive by having a higher salary. But that was 4 years ago. The only thing that really stands out to me when it comes to the recommendations is really the Board of Education, but we're not discussing that yet. I think that does need to change. We waited 28 years before we changed it 4 years ago. I'm not saying we should wait another 28 years but maybe another 4 years. I could see on many of these. I don't have strong feelings on it, but that's where I'm at.
What are we talking about? County executive or the Board of Ed?
I'm saying across the board.
I'd say across the board.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I would like to say that I think I watched a lot of those meetings, and I think they did a nice job trying to separate the person from the position. And I like Mr. Atkins' approach, and I believe that was your approach with the step increase annually. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Instead of trying to bite a bullet all at one time, why give them a big salary increase at one time? Step it annually. And right now I have no problems, no reserves to go forward with the executive salary increase. And if there's opposition to it, I mean, that's fine as well. We can compromise a little bit, but that's my thoughts on that.
Did you did or did not?
I did not have any reservations on increasing the salary.
Okay. Shani?
I personally think that it is hard times out here. I was part of an increase in council salaries on the city council, and if you're being elected, the election year, you didn't get a raise. The current seating council would not get a raise after the election.
If you said something like that, didn't you have a comment about the timing of these? No? Go ahead.
I wonder if we should look into reforming this commission in 2 years in a mid-cycle, so it doesn't become so much of a political football, so to speak. And I'm not sure what the process would be. I believe, Laura, you said that would have to go through the state first, or?
Well, it's in the charter, so it would actually have to go to referendum.
Okay.
It is a
Any
mistake.
comments in reference to where we are today with the recommendations here?
Me or?
You, you're the only one left.
I would agree with the step increase. This is a bit of a unique situation. You know, we keep talking about challenging financial times. I would go with the step increase, most likely not 2,000, but a step increase.
I would agree with the step increase. I would. My concern, though, is, and it's another day for another discussion, but I'm not so sure that, I tend to believe that I think we may be top-heavy in the executive branch, you know. And this is no reflection whatsoever on any of the people who are currently in office, but if you look at some other counties, you don't necessarily have an executive, and then you have an administrator, and you don't have a deputy director of administration. We always thought that the deputy director of administration might be a good position because that would be replacing the administrator. But I've been in office for the most part during every single executive, and I never saw it where there was ever a transition that the deputy director came in to replace the director. Just didn't happen. So I don't know how relevant that might be in a day for a different discussion.
I want to piggyback on that thought. I'm going to come at this from a different perspective. First off, I think it's not a good look right now to do the increase. And I would definitely agree with Mr. Merritt, it's not good timing. But if I take a step back and just think about, this is somebody who's going to run a $216 million operation. And the skill set that I would want to attract would be somebody who has CEO type of experience. And so in this situation, whether it's 109 or 115,000, I think it's for naught. In other words, I don't think that's going to be that increase is going to incentivize the skill set that I would think the county would really need. Mm-hmm. But back to your point about being top heavy, and if you take the management team, if you will, exec and administrative director and deputy, I think we're probably talking 355. I don't know, it was a quick number I did, but somewhere between $350,000 and $400,000. So I know this is a pipe dream, this will never happen, but I would say you probably would, for this skill set we're looking for, be talking more like 175 to 200,000, and then reshape the whole thing so that you're not having to carry those all three of those positions. I'm getting way out in left field, I realize that, but I'm just saying that's the perspective I'm coming at, because you need somebody that's got leadership skills and background and CEO type of experience. Mm-hmm. Having said that, I think it's probably not a good time, and I'm a little bit on the fence. You know, I could go either way. You know, I don't think it's going to be that impactful either way, but I'll figure out when I get ready to vote which way I'm going to go.
Well, I'm just taking a consensus, and we're not taking a vote here tonight, we won't. But I have to get a consensus to move forward, and the consensus appears to be that the majority is not in favor of the increase just yet. Yes, Joe?
I didn't know we were talking about the whole 9 yards of council too. Were you talking about increases for the council and the executive and?
That's next.
So we're still on the executive.
Yeah, we're going one at a time.
I want to bring up one thing which you mentioned is succession of the deputy administrator stepping into the county administrator's shoes in case he left. This couldn't happen in our situation we have now because our deputy administrator doesn't live in Wicomico County. And our charter says that the administrator has to live in Wicomico County. And when that was brought up, when we interviewed the gentleman, he said he would not be living in Wicomico County, but he might just rent an apartment here, so it would look like he did, I guess, something like that. But anyway, that's how the interview went that night. But, so succession is impossible unless we let that happen, I guess, so.
On the president of the council, I don't have to recuse myself because I'm not running in 26. So. Have at it.
I don't have to recuse myself because I'm not running again.
Is there any thought as far as the president and the council at all, as a total combination, where you want to leave it alone or you want to move forward? Any
Alone.
I'll leave it alone.
Excuse
Leave it
me?
alone.
Leave it alone.
I'm going
Leave
to
it alone.
recuse myself.
I know that these members of this committee are going to be absolutely.
Well,
They meet
look,
every year, they work hard, and then they come to this council, and the council says no every
Every year.
4 years.
No, it's not the first time we've done that.
Oh, yes, I know, it's every time. It is, but we're trying to be responsible.
I think
And we're
with
not
the
trying,
council-
we're not trying to second guess them, we're not trying to,
I think Jeff, was it Jeff? Did you make that point of doing it in 2 years?
Yeah.
that'll be another argument for another day, and Mr.
Another
Lowry's going to
argument.
look into it. It'll have to be, we'll have to prepare it as a legislative piece
Yeah.
to go on
That makes way
as a
more sense.
referendum. I think so too, 100%. So that includes the president, the vice president, and the council. So that only leaves us with the sheriff. Sheriff should get a raise. And I agree with the numbers that were recommended for the sheriff.
Say leave it alone.
I agree.
When you say leave it alone, Joe,
Just leave the salary as it is.
without any increase?
No increase, yeah. He's used to me doing that, so he's not going to do that. Maybe, anyway.
I think when you look at the comparatives, Wicomico is so far behind, and Joe, I'm going the opposite direction, but, I would actually look to accelerate the bumps, whether taking the second year or even the third year is the first one, and then one more after that, just because it looks like there's such a disparity.
But let's look at his command staff, though. He's got a very capable command staff, that helps him run the sheriff's office.
All I'm looking at is numbers on this piece of paper and looking at comparable, comparable counties, and it's just a huge gap. And I commend the commission for doing that, or making that recommendation, and I'm okay with that. I would even accelerate it. That would be my opinion.
I guess we can't consider retirement benefits from the state, can we?
No, this is basically, whatever benefits the county may be supplying, that's as far as we would go. Jeff, your thoughts on this?
On the sheriff?
Yeah.
I would support it, yeah.
Josh?
If there was a compromise, maybe we would just go to that 135 amount, like get to that point and then stay there and allow the next commission to look at it. But generally, if push came to shove, I guess I'd be their supporter. We are far behind in where that salary should be. So I don't have strong feelings on this one either. But I think the step's fine. I think the 6,000 amount makes sense. But, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with the steps. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so we have a majority on the sheriff, and the others, we are by consensus choosing to leave the salaries where they are. Ms. Rowley, where does this go from here?
So the sheriff's salary could be increased by resolution, so that can come back for your formal vote at the next meeting.
It'll come back by resolution, or wouldn't it be in the next budget, in the next year? Oh, this is completely separate.
Well, you're actually formally voting to increase the salary. It would go into effect for the next term.
We have the Board of Education here as well.
Well, I'll surprise you all. I support an increase for them.
So,
I do too.
And I'll tell you why. Louis Raleigh told me years ago, he said, if anybody ever recommends running for the Board of Ed, run the other way. he said, it's a thankless job, that you're never going to make anybody happy. Almost as bad as this one, but not quite. But they spend a lot of time, and they might probably spend as much time as we do. I would support going to at least the Worcester County level anyway, 7,000, and that's up from 3,700.
I agree.
So 7,000. Yeah.
Yes.
It is. Joe Holloway, I'm going to put this one in the
And
books.
mark that one down, right? Yeah.
This in the books.
Had a lot of milestones this meeting.
Yeah.
Just a point of clarification, for the Worcester County, did you want to do the exact same, the member salary, the vice chair salary, as well as the chair salary? You just want to mirror what they're doing?
Right?
Oh, you just want
Isn't that what they
7,000?
did?
They did 7,500 for the chair. My only thought was, I'd marked this up earlier, just saying, okay, what if we did the vice chair and chair as 7,500 and then the member 7,000? But I agree with Worcester County having the chair at 7,500 and then the member at 7,000.
Well, as is.
As it's currently showing on the sheet.
As is on there. The question that I had was the 15,582 for students, and I found that confusing. So we may need, Michelle, I don't know if you can help us with that, or if we maybe need to. You still here? Stuck it out.
She was on the board.
I know.
Okay, so see if I can answer this question. What is it again?
Well, there's the number that was supplied to us, that the
came from the
2024
Board of Ed?
students number, well, actually came from Angie Chattel, our internal auditor.
Actually, that sheet came from a Board of Education member who did all the county comparisons.
The sheet here?
Yes.
On that sheet? Okay.
Well, my sheet's so small I can't read it. But
It's the very, very last one at the bottom.
But the number says, like where it says that Wicomico, there's 3,700 and 4,000, then it goes to students and it says 15,582. I have no idea what that means.
That's how many.
that's how many students we
That's how
have.
many students are in this.
Oh, Christ. I
Yeah.
thought that was a dollar figure.
Yeah, no. So can
Thank you.
I be a part of this conversation, or
Yes,
are you just
ma'am.
answer whatever questions you
sorry.
ask me? Be careful what you ask, what you say yes to. So basically, what I'm hearing is that you're recommending matching Worcester County.
Yes.
So basically, Wicomico County is going to go from getting paid 25 cents a student to 50 cents a student
It's going from 30.
versus
Yeah.
$1 that Worcester County's paying.
Well, all I'm looking here is that in Worcester County, it says 7,000, 7,000.
Yeah, they have half the
75.
student count.
Don't push your luck now.
It's a,
Come on.
it's a 90% increase. is what we're-
I understand, but as Mr. Holloway just stated, the work, the time, the energy, the stress, the anxiety that I
I
know
get
you
it.
understand is huge.
What does that
Yeah.
dollar, what does that change in the per student cost? What would that be if we were to go with the number that you're suggesting? What would that number be, the annual?
Well, if you went to, even if you went to 75 cents, whatever 75 cents is times 15,582. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a big number, and I know that it's a big jump. I would also like to add that if you could add this to the charter, that the Board of Education is part of that decision process when you're
I'd have to
evaluating.
go to referendum.
Well, whatever that process is. Well, I'm just suggesting that if there's a way to make the Board of Ed part of the evaluation process on a more timely timeframe versus someone as a citizen just asking for it to be considered.
We never did the sheriff before, and we started doing the sheriff, so that would be up to the next council if they wanted to do
And
that.
also, just so that you're aware, that this decision can be made locally or legislatively. So,
Oh, so you're saying we don't have to go to the state of Maryland to have the authority to do the.
no, you can do it
compensation?
yourself, or it can be done legislatively, and then they would dictate to you what you're going to pay Wicomico County Board of Education members. So, you know, I would much prefer, and I'm sure you would too, that it be a decision made locally and not, you know.
We could put that in there with the sheriff, because that's never, the only problem is the sheriff is an elected official outside of our, I think, it may, I don't know if it's outside of our purview or not. We'll consider it, okay? 'Cause I
Yeah,
think it's a good
I'm just
idea.
giving out some ideas on how, so, because you're not going to be 20 years later, someone else coming.
No, it's a great
the
idea.
salaries again.
It's a great
But there just be some kind of a set schedule when it's reviewed and discussed, and it not be such a big gap.
This is a total afterthought, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
So I think what, just for the public's understanding is that Mrs. Wright here served on the Compensation Allowance Commission, and they're only required by the charter to review the salaries of the county executive and the county council. And what I'm hearing you guys request is that perhaps that Compensation Allowance Commission every 4 years should also consider the sheriff as well as the Board of Education.
I would ask that to be considered as an option.
Oh, good. Okay. Now, we've taken a consensus in a work session. Mrs. Shirley, where does this go next? Does this get codified in an actual resolution? Is it put into the new budget? How exactly is it going to progress from here, especially with the Board of Ed?
Very similar to the sheriff, it would come back in the form of a resolution.
Okay. Now, keep in mind that whatever comments that you had in reference to the cost per student, keep that in mind, and what comes to the table could be amended. I'm not saying it
Yeah,
will be,
no, I
but it could
understand.
be.
I just wanted to throw numbers out there to you and give you different ways of thinking about the pay and
I find,
being comparable and
Making
competitive
it
and.
wasn't. It's obvious.
I find the per student thing is not a fair way to assess this because some students are more trouble than others,
Yeah.
right?
Say that about councilmen too.
I mean, seriously, some students cause more problems.
Shots fired over there.
Oh, that was.
Just kidding.
Oh, no, you weren't. No, you weren't.
I guess only she could get away with that.
I didn't catch what she said. What'd she say?
That was the comeback of the night right there.
Well, thanks for taking the time.
Thank
Appreciate
you
you
for
being
letting me
here.
come here and
And I
speak.
think
Thank
we
you.
got this wrapped up. Mr. Jim Kaleo, is that it? With the update on the weed control program, Miss Victoria Spice? Oh, there you are. How are you?
Great, how are you?
Doing great.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet because it is very late and it is past my bedtime. But my name is Victoria Spice. I'm an ag inspector with the Maryland Department of Agriculture. Jim Kaleo could not be here with me tonight. I do have in the audience with me Sam Parker. He's a fantastic farmer here in Wicomico County.
Bring him up so everybody can meet him.
Come sit at the
Come
table.
on up, come on up.
Sam serves
He
on
lives in
our-
my district. I want everybody to meet Sam.
Sam serves on our Wicomico County Noxious Weed Advisory Committee. And so you have a letter that we kind of put together that shows the support of all the farmers, ag agencies, and other folks that are in support of a noxious weed control program for Wicomico County. So I was just going to do a quick little update of where we're at because I was back here in 2021 trying to get this started. So I think I have a presentation. Laura, do you want to pull that up for me?
Yes.
Or I can just talk too. So the purpose of a weed control program is to control noxious weeds. And so we have 8 of them here in the state of Maryland. All of them are agricultural. They're, designated by the Secretary of Agriculture. They're regulated. It's illegal to have them on your property. So the goals of having a weed control program for that purpose is to protect the county infrastructure, reduce road hazards, and obviously to protect farmland for our farmers. And so in 2024, MDA had cooperative agreements with 19 counties. Wicomico County previously was a part of that cooperative agreement, but in March 2025, decided they wanted to opt out of the program.
Was there a reason given?
The reason I was told is, I don't know who asked that question.
I did.
Okay, staffing. So I have a little bit of a timeline here. So, like I said, I was here in 2021 with Jim. A coordinator was hired in July. They began their activities in August. They continued through the 2023 season, and then the position became vacant in 2024. The position was then posted on the website. An applicant was accepted the position in March 2024 and then decided not to. So then it had to get reposted. And then it became available April 2024, and then I found out in March of 2025 that the county did not want to be a part of the weed control program.
In reading your presentation, the only thing that seems, there was some mentions of expenses, but I didn't get a real overall feel for exactly what the obligation was going to be on the county and how much it was actually going to cost.
Sure, yeah. So the county itself it really depends on how the county wants to do it. So we have programs in other counties that have a part-time seasonal weed control coordinator. You know, they get paid $20, $25 an hour. They're here from April till October. So you can do the math on that, but depending on what the county wants to pay. But other counties, they have a whole crew of individuals that they have full-time positions for, or they do seasonal reassignment. So they may be on the roads department. This is what we did previously. When we did have a weed control coordinator in the position, they worked for the roads department and then seasonally was reassigned to do weed control during those time periods. And that worked. It wasn't ideal by any means, but you know, it worked, and we were starting to gain some momentum. And so there's, like I said, it's really dependent on how the county wants to structure the program. We also have programs that provide a fee for service to residents to control noxious or invasive weeds on their private property as a way to create revenue for the program, and in order to, you know, continue that mission to void our roadways and our infrastructure of noxious and invasive weeds. But that's not every county. It really just depends on how the program wants to run. I feel like I wasn't really given a great opportunity to get a program up and running in this county because there was some staff turnover and some leadership changes, and the Noxious Weed Committee with Wicomico County would agree that it's paramount that we have a weed control program in this county.
Who has the equipment for this? Does the county have it?
County already does, yes.
County's already got it.
Yep,
okay.
so on one of the sides, so the county has a truck with the spray equipment just sitting in a parking lot. And then it was previously housed in the roads department, which worked really nicely because that could be gated and it can be safe there. They also have the administrative support. I worked with the administration over there to do some invoicing and, you know, processing of papers, and it worked really nicely. We just literally just need a weed control coordinator. We need to get that job posted again. We need to find a qualified applicant, and that's something that I can absolutely play a role in. I can offer my, you know, technical expertise in interviewing and making sure that the person that is hired is qualified. I'm here to be a part of that.
They have to be licensed and different things.
So what's the benefit of me being, working with the county on this is that I can actually carry the license for the county, and I can work with the individual over, depending on their experience with pesticide application. I can work with them and, you know, get them to have their own license and apply. It's usually like a 1-year time period is what pesticide regulations requires, but depending on the applicant and what experience they have, it may be less.
A little history to this. Years ago, we had a gentleman that did this for like 30 years, and he was like 80-some years old when he finally quit or retired or passed on or whatever. And then it's kind of been one person after another until, I guess, it went away, so.
Would this include, periodically, we get concerns about algae in some of the ponds that wouldn't include that, right?
Well, if they have the pesticide applicator's license, depending on what category they're trained in, this could be a technical expert at the disposal of the county. So if that individual, if the county wants that individual to be trained in that, they can certainly take the test and become, qualified to handle those situations, yeah.
Thank you.
What you may have to do is try to, if you want to revive the program, I would say you're going to have a meeting with the executive branch and review that with them so they can evaluate what the cost may truly be, and, balance that together with all the other expenses that we have in the county and obligations we have in the county to try to move it forward. You'd have the tail wagging the dog if the council, I think, tried to initiate it. Plus, we don't really have the staff to get down into the nuts and bolts of what the fiscal note's going to be.
Sure.
We do not have that ability to do that for the most part. That has something the finance department would have to be, or else the individuals, one of the other departments that may under which this program may or may not operate.
Sure.
But that would be the key place to start in order to get this ball rolling.
That would be great. I just need a little bit of direction on who to contact because there have been so many changes in leadership and so much staff.
Julie Giordano is a county executive, and
Okay.
that would be a good place to start right
Okay.
there. And set up a meeting. I think the two of you should both go there. If you have anybody from the farming industry that could have input on that. Because there's two, one thing is the weeds themselves, the other part is you're talking about the revenue streams it could make. I think that's important to have that included in the presentation
And I-
that you have here.
Yeah, and I spoke with Mr. Adam Corey this afternoon as well.
Yep,
Okay.
Sitting over there.
yep.
And,
I would suggest also the top end of what it would cost, what the
Sure.
cost would be. So there'd be some, when you to contact them.
Yeah, then we get fit in the budget, and find out how it might work.
If I may, certainly we can go the route you recommended, but I'd like to ask for the council's support as we move forward. As I got on the committee, and we did have a coordinator, I identified some noxious weeds along the roadside, and was able to call in and have report that to Victoria and have folks, the fella come out and he took care of it, did a good job, and I think that's important as we try to support the farmers across the county. Farmers are trying very hard to control Palmer amaranth, and as it becomes a problem on the roadside, it can quickly spread into the fields and turn a field that has the potential to be clean into one that needs additional herbicides sprayed on it as a result of seed being spread from the county roadbed. So, yeah, I'd just like to ask for the support when we get to that point. I believe we can get there.
And it's a thing where it's always a fine balance of what the costs are going to be to that. Even with the presentation, I don't know specifically how invasive these are. If someone from the farming industry could probably help us with that. I know that, I think it's wisteria, is that right? The little pink one?
Wisteria is an invasive weed. We're mostly focused on noxious weed from an agricultural standpoint because, for instance, Palmer amaranth that he was mentioning, if you have even one plant, that's 800,000 seeds that can get spread. It can take over a field in a matter of a couple years, and that's a huge cost to farmers. And a lot of times these seeds will spread by corridors or roadways. So it's important to, hit it from all fronts. Weeds know no barriers, geographic boundaries.
This is the first I've known of this.
We need to remember agriculture is the #1 industry in Wicomico County. Okay? So,
We gotta support it when we can. Yeah.
I'm just going to add on to that. Obviously, this is one issue, the noxious weed. Our county especially has a lot of issues when it comes to not just the noxious weed, but the invasive species. We have the bamboo issue we've mentioned, but you go to any one of our parks in our county and you'll see immense, not just the noxious weeds that are moving into the inland to the areas that are more open, but a lot of the invasive species all over the space. We spend a lot of money in Pemberton Park to try to to address that. This is a bigger issue, and I think something we need to stay on top of it. The more that you let it go by, the worse it gets over time. And I know certainly in my time in the ag community, this is one thing that it's never the first thing on your mind. It's usually, but it's right there behind that. And so I would love to see the county continue to address this and to understand how important this is, and not just the noxious weed side of this, the invasive species, all of this together. We've really got to take it head on. Just thank you. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Quick question. Sounds like we already have the equipment, so maybe the capital expense wouldn't be a lot. Where does the chemical come from? Who provides the chemicals?
So there's a few different revenue streams, right? So if the county is spraying on county roads, the herbicide would have to be paid for by the county. But there is the opportunity, State Highways Administration, one of our roles in this kind of partnership that we create is that we can work on a MOU with State Highways, so this coordinator can actually spray herbicides along State Highway to create revenue for the program. And so those herbicides would be provided by State Highways, and it's usually at like $175 an hour for the individual to be spraying for State Highways, and all of that gets invoiced through roads or wherever it's housed. And we've done that previously, and it's worked out well.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, next. CIP, is that next? Yep. CIP Public Works. Good evening. All right. Adam, you coming up?
Manning,
Might be 9:45, John.
I'm yawning.
I got a big, nice cup.
I never been putting late.
Pamela Lynn, Finance Director.
Adam Corey, Acting Director of Public Works.
I saw.
Pam, you want to start?
Council requested for Public Works, which I'm assuming is the Public Works page, which is page 6, which includes engineering, water and sewer, roads, and solid waste. These projects are based on meetings that we had with all 4 of those, with the department to talk about all 4 of those areas. As you're aware, as I always say, this is a plan. This is our best estimates because, again, we can't go out and get somebody to quote these items. We have to make estimates based on industry conditions, industry information that we have, because there isn't going to be a vendor who wants to give us a quote for this and then be precluded from being allowed to actually do this work. So a CIP, by its nature, is the best estimate from the information that we are able to ascertain at the point in time we are doing this. In addition, these numbers are based on today's condition, or actually 3 weeks ago's condition when we submitted this, because everything changes, stuff changes every day, prices change every day. So we make our best estimates, but when we are estimating 2031, we're estimating that based on what we know about conditions now. Those numbers will most definitely change between now and 2031, because we will have updated information as that information moves forward. Because it's a 5-year plan, I readily admit I don't rewrite the descriptions. If a project got listed last year and it moved or stayed the same or moved to a different year, unless the project substantially changed, why would we rewrite the explanation just to rewrite it? The explanation is based on the information that we have at the point in time we're making this estimate. So, with all of that, and that is an introduction to everybody's CIP. With that, we have put in here our standard 3 things under the engineering division for, we put money aside for our WIP program. We put money aside we're putting money aside for dredge management, which we had been historically underfunding. And we put money aside for MS4.
Anybody have questions in reference to, we could take it as you know, in chronological order. I think the WIP is pretty self-explanatory. That's just something we've committed to all along and will continue to commit to. So then the next item on here would be the actual dredge management. I think what I see when I see dredge management is that, and a lot of other projects, is that you are running as fast as you can to try to get us back to normalcy.
Yes, sir.
I see that in a whole lot of them because there's 0 expenses in 27 last year, and yet we're getting $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in 27 this year, and that's simply because somebody seen the light and said, we got to get this job done. And that's how I've interpreted a lot of this CIP.
I won't disagree with that, and I will echo what Pam has stated before about it being a planning document. But if this can give you whet your appetite on what that upfront, all in, if you will, this coming fiscal year is about, is just that, is getting back on track. With dredge management, much larger dollar amounts are going to be spent in shorter amounts of time as far as like snippets of projects that are going to be completed in phase 2. We talked about a lot of this in the dredging presentation that we did the other week. But once you get it back on track, are you able to accommodate with the standard that's in the CIP? Mm-hmm. Well, I think we need to constantly reevaluate that, maybe even bring it down at some point. when we do get to budget time, one of the other aspects we've talked about before is dedicated areas within the Division of Public Works, Department of Public Works, whether it's the Roads Division. Whenever we do get a Division of Environmental Services up and running, frankly, it's kind of timely having MDA sit here. You know, I think a more robust weed program and invasive species program could be handled under a separate Division of Public Works like that. But yeah, I don't mean to belabor that point, but I think that some of these increases you're seeing right here at the shotgun start at 2027 is just so we can get back on track. But a lot of them are, just like MS4 and WHIP, those are consistent.
Questions from it? When you have the 4.1 and 27 and the 3 and 28, what was the evaluation process on those numbers?
So when we looked at the overall cost, right, of what was going to be taking place for dredge management, and assuming prior to the discussion would come to you to amend the previous fiscal budget for the award of the 2.3 million, was at what time in the dredging cycle would we be needing to expend those significant multi-million-dollar projects? The way the timeline worked out, where, you know, with all the history where we've been from the last year, it just didn't work that way. Now that we have a more clear timeline with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we feel that this is appropriate stepwise for 27, 28 on to get those cycles complete. So I think that's just the way we broke those estimates down as far as the fiscal year is concerned. And we are, with a lot of subject matter that's in Department of Public Works, leaving no stone unturned when it comes to funding availability.
To what?
Funding, grant funding, whether it be state or federal.
Right.
Yeah.
If I could just take your question a little bit further. So on the 4.1 million, and we all know we had 400,000 cubic yards, I think, at Sharps Point to be moved. And is that 4.1 mostly regarding removal of a portion or all of that 400,000?
Correct.
And I don't know, and I realize you've got a lot of balls up in the air, and you're trying to solve the big problem, you know, for longevity's sake. But is that going to the Eden?
So that first 100,000 that cost 2.3 million, that was out of this, you know, previous fiscal budget.
Right.
Our anticipation for phase 2 at 50,000 cubic yards, and then the continuance of another 150 over the next year and a half. So that's where that total dollar amount is coming into play with the CIP.
So 4.1 takes away the 50 and the 150, basically.
That's the goal.
I'm just trying to get
That's the goal.
macro idea of the numbers. So you're disposing, you've disposed of or moved 100.
We've moved 100.
So you'll have another 200 moved with that 4.1, and of course, space-wise, you should be in much better shape as far as not being up against the wall.
And another thing that comes into play here, and again, I want to supplement as much as we can, or all of it if we can, good Lord willing, with funding from federal or state sources. So we're going after everything we can for that as well. There's a couple of big ones out there that we're trying to grasp right now. Some of them that, you know, through Ms. Lori Carter's working on, including one that could be upwards of 10 million that we could get.
Is Fish and Wildlife on that?
Sir?
Is Fish and Wildlife on that list of possible grants? Because
So right now, the relationship with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, it's monies that they would be bringing in through collaborative processes with Ducks Unlimited. That was the one I mentioned the other week. But that conversation, even since we had the talk the other night on dredge management and the long-term goals, that communication continues to blossom. Even since we had that work session, I've had 4 more people added to that email list from other parts of MDE, other areas of the Nature Conservancy, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Army Corps as well that we continue to engage with. So I think that's going to bear fruit, and I think more grant availability might come our way as more of those partners get on board.
the reason I asked, just doing YouTube and searching, and you know, because this is really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
There was a jurisdiction in Florida that got a very large grant from Fish and Wildlife for what it's worth, and it was almost an identical situation where they're trying to find sites I think they use thin layer placement, by the way, but anyway, that's the only reason I asked the question. Leaving no stone unturned.
We are definitely not, and like I say, when as much we can get from our partners outside of the county instead of it being on the back of the taxpayer here in the county, we'd prefer that. So we're going to keep going for that full steam.
The adjacent site at Sharps Point, that's no longer there, right?
I don't think it's worth our while. I mean, you're talking about the amount of mitigation we would have to put in there, and I do believe that was in the CIP at one point back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was significant costs. We don't have gospel moving into the future as a goal right now, but we have a pretty darn good plan of how we're going to move out, and I just don't think at this point it's worth expending those kinds of dollars to mitigate pristine wetlands that exist in the county, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly the appetite of the council, and
No, it's
Yeah.
not ours. It's
Yeah.
really, it has to be your recommendation, right?
I would not recommend we spend $1 tearing that up. Yeah, it's just, we can find better ways to do it, I think, yeah.
Does anybody have questions on the Public Works, Water and Sewer?
So right now, there's kind of 3 identified projects. The one that is furthest along is the Salisbury Septic Elimination Project. We have been awarded a grant, forgivable loan, and a regular loan for doing that project. We have placed that in 2027 because we hope by the end of fiscal 2027 that will come to fruition, that we are ready to move forward and close on that loan and start the project. But there's a lot of steps to get there, and those steps include doing all the documentation with the state to actually close that loan, close that grant, do all that kind of stuff. And again, all of that will come before council before we can ever do any of that. Additionally, there is the concept of how it is going to functionally work to get this repaid. Is it going to be, and how we're going to arrange that with the city of Salisbury, and that hasn't been arrived at either. So again, there are some major hurdles. We have been awarded the money to do this. It just now becomes the logistics of how do we collect it? How do we bill it? Do we want to be in the billing realm, which we really don't. We think we won't own the wastewater treatment plant. It's going to go into the city of Salisbury's wastewater treatment plant. But how do we accomplish that and get these loans repaid? Again, some of it is forgivable, but others of it will have to be repaid. And so we are looking for ways to accomplish that. And so that is why that is on here. The other 2 in discussions with Amanda Pollock, this is kind of the timeline where we think these things will fall.
I need to interrupt you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Parsonsburg new project, you're going there, right? Parsons, it says, this
Yeah.
project will eliminate septic systems in the county by having them connect to the Parsonsburg system. Parsonsburg doesn't have.
That's a typo, unfortunately. So I'll give you a little bit of insight on that one, if you don't mind.
I was going to say.
The Parsonsburg-Pittsville PER has already been complete. That's something that we worked on last year. We went to the state last year, talked about how it would look for Pittsville and Parsonsburg to collaboratively do an SRF application, state revolving fund, water quality finance infrastructure. That's where that 8.5 came from for the city of Salisbury septic elimination project. I'll give a little bit more insight on Parsonsburg so we're up to date. The Parsonsburg project's not necessarily a new project. We've already done the PER for it. What it would look like, and the reason I think it got typed this way, is the only way Parsonsburg exists from a septic elimination standpoint is to connect it to the town of Pittsville's wastewater treatment
They
plant.
agreed to that? Did they have the
Yes, they
capacity?
have up to 50,000 gallons of capacity that they could accommodate the town of Pittsville, or excuse me, I'm getting messed up. The rural village of Parsonsburg can be accommodated by the municipality of Pittsville at 50,000 GPD. Those things have already been laid out. That's what we did the preliminary engineering report for. Now, with that being said, Pittsville has to upgrade its wastewater treatment plant, regardless of whether or not they ever take on Parsonsburg. That's years and years, if not close to a decade out before that ever comes to fruition.
But you can go ahead with this project before they upgrade their system.
You can do a couple of things, and what you can do with this money is you can perform your formal evaluations after your PER, and you can actually get a design put together. That way it's sitting on the books, sitting on the shelf, and then over the next 5 to 8 years, you engage with the community, Pittsville, the state, and say, what's our funding sources look like? Is this the right move? And then if it all links up.
So you're saying you want to spend $500,000 to do this plan that it would take a decade to even hook up to Pittsville? That
The
don't sound
decade
like
would be a long time out, yeah. But this is,
years.
so these kinds of projects are not turnkey projects. Water and sewer projects like this, when you're running a line outside of a municipality, now this one only happens to be, I'm getting a couple of projects confused, but it's somewhere between 1.5 and 3 miles. I think 3 is the appropriate measurement. It would be a denied access line, so that means that in between, because the state's not going to pay for growth. Although we're trying to have the conversation with the state as far as the governor's housing initiative comes into play. You know, if you're going to start putting pipe in the ground and you're getting more bang from your buck from an environmental and public health standpoint by putting people on water and sewer than you are on densely packed on-site sewage disposal systems in a lot of the rural villages around Maryland, not just the county, that is it worth paying for some growth? Now, do you want to change the landscape and the look and feel of a place like Parsonsburg? Well, the way it's set in right now, you would only be allowed a 10% intensification of parcels that are already unimproved. So if you've got 10 lots in the town of Parsonsburg right now that are nothing's built on them, that'd be your max out of improvement. So when it comes to water sewer projects like this, if you don't have the infrastructure already in the ground, it takes a long time to get it ramped up. The permitting, the planning, the designing. If you don't start now and you wait 5 years to spend that money, for example, like we were asking for in this particular CIP, then you put yourself behind the 8 ball as it pertains to Pittsville getting their wastewater treatment plant up and running, and then you're paying even higher costs to get your pipe run. Now,
That's not on there until FY '28 anyway, but,
Yeah.
you know, it seems to me like, I mean, we don't know that Pittsville will get theirs done in 10 years. It might be 12, 15, you know.
I have a pretty good feeling we're going to get there in, like I say, somewhere between 6 and 10. That's the prognosis right now from all of our collaborative team, including Pittsville, their engineering firms, the state of Maryland. It's their goal. They know they need to do it. And also, one of the reasons we want to put this in FY '28 is that we are going, this particular session, I shouldn't say session, I don't mean legislative session, but this open application period for this next state revolving fund to put Pittsville and Parsonsburg together in that application package, because it'll actually get a higher score for the state, because you're going to have rural village with failing septic, the mobile home parks that are just outside of the rural village area. There's 2 of them up there that have both had some very long-lasting issues with their shared facilities. So it's a pretty good bang for the buck, and the state would probably put a pretty high ranking on it.
This is going on and probably getting off feed. What's between Parsonsburg and Salisbury? How far does Salisbury come out? I know it's got to come out at least to the Chesapeake Heights area, but does it come out to Walston Switch or?
Not water and sewer, not water and sewer. So
Land?
and I do have that addressed later in water and sewer with Old Ocean City Road.
All right,
Yeah, and that's what's next on the list here is Old Ocean City Road.
okay.
And that one is a project that we feel would be easier to get quicker, all right, because of how close it is to City of Salisbury. And City of Salisbury, again, is the only other municipality with capacity right now. That's why we have our front-loaded $800,000 in '28, and then an estimated $15 million. It's big in '31. What I'm trying to say is you see how quickly you can get from PER to design to implementation of pipe in the ground. Again, it's just a planning document, and again, we would still go through the same state loan programs.
and Old Ocean City, you may not realize how close to, if you know where Wicomico Day School is on Old Ocean City Road, that's on septic. So it's not like you're going miles and miles down Old Ocean City Road where we're looking to start eliminating the septic systems there. They are, in my brain, before I worked here, I would have thought they were just on water and sewer. But that area basically passed, I think that used to be, it's Blind Industries now, but the old Lowe's, the old Lowe's, I will admit that's before my time, but the old Lowe's, that, from that corner on,
It's all on-site sewage disposal.
it's on site, and those lots are tiny.
Yeah,
So anyways, that's why that one has actually a dollar amount for the build, because we expect, because again, also once we work out some of the bugs associated with our agreement for the first part of septic elimination, we should hopefully be able to model that for the second one to do the Old Ocean City, because we were connecting to the same system.
Yeah, the scale just increases in the.
yeah, I thought Old Ocean City was going to be first. I was
So,
surprised, but that's good. That's okay.
It is definitely, like I say, now Salisbury septic elimination, the one that's easy, the donut holes we've been talking about for the past year, that was absolutely the easiest and first project to get. But Old Ocean City Road is coming right on its heels because it's always been identified as an area of concern.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back, you made a comment about being able to service areas in between,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a PFA or whatever the
Right.
case, but
Denied access.
yeah, and so does part of this plan for Parsonsburg, is there some relevancy there, or you were just making that?
No, just making the comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a travesty that we are not going to be, and I keep grinding on this, that we're not going to be able to have the infrastructure in between those, if they are PFAs or failing septic systems, in order to have some level of growth in Wicomico County. Our housing starts are pathetic, and we have a housing shortage, but I know you're working on that, but anything you'd like to comment, I just want to keep that in everybody's mind.
I sincerely appreciate that comment, and that sentiment is shared on this side of the table as well, and it's discussed in the executive conference room quite often. I think there was even some discussions that took place at Mako here very recently, and a couple that I were on virtually with some folks.
But we don't need to destroy farms.
You don't.
Forests
You don't,
in order
but
to get there,
if
as
you
long as we're in the
have
priority
areas-
funding area.
If you have areas of the county
Yeah.
that make sense from a pipeline standpoint, now, no one wants to see unchecked.
There's plenty of people that want to see that. Go to Delaware.
I don't want to see. Yeah, we don't
Have you
want
been
to
to Sussex County
don't want to see that. But
Yeah.
if you have, for example, a 3-mile line in between a relatively small municipality and a rural village, and you have a property owner that is right there and has tested his lot. He's got a 4-acre lot. He's tested it 3 times and it's failed every year due to high water tables. And now the pipe's marching past his property and he can't get a building permit. You got to feel for people like that.
Adam?
Yes, sir.
Have we, I'm sure you've talked about it, but what about running water to a lot of these places ahead of time? Because you have to be 100 feet from a septic for a well, right?
Dependent.
So, yeah,
Sometimes it's 50 feet. Yeah.
right. But if you could run water, could we get, for some of these smaller lots, then you could eliminate a lot of these septics that are, wells that are in neighboring lots, so you'd be able to get more septics on their properties.
It's a great question. And believe me, that concept is looked at when you start evaluating a site, when you select an area to say, oh, we're going to go through a PER on this. Does it make sense for this particular area to get a centralized water supply system? Or does it make sense for us to run water supply for a municipality? You look at all those things. Can you loop your water supply, for example? Think about the Naylor Mill Road and going over to their trailer park here most recently. That was just that right there. You still have on-site sewage disposal, but you ran water because that was the easier thing to do. Right. And you do relieve that setback issue. Now, on places like Old Ocean City Road, all I'll say is this. It's always best if you can to try to plan to put both pipes in the ground if you're going to run them.
Absolutely.
There's some projects where it's just not going to be able to be done. I'll tell you right now, the Pittsville-Parsonsburg project, when that came to a design, we would probably not plan to run water and sewer as well. All right. A well location is relatively simple to spot, check, and drill. We're in an area of the state that's, you can drill a well pretty daggone quick. It's amazing to see a well driller here on this side of the bridge in the alluvial plain shoot a well down to 400 feet and then take lunch and then come back and they're done by 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You go to Western Maryland, you might drill 4 holes to 800 feet through fractured rock before you find water. So we're very fortunate in that regard. So it's not as much of a task to be able to put a well in. It's a much greater task to put on-site sewage disposal in marginal soils. So in most cases, right here around us, especially Old Ocean City Road corridor, we'd be looking at sewer being the bigger priority. If we can get both water and sewer at the same time, great. But for there, I would think that the sewer would be the bigger.
Can I throw another multitask on you?
Sure.
On the west side, we got a lot of brackish water down there, and small lots like in Bivalve and Mardella. Mardella doesn't have sewer or water, just like Parsonsburg, and I'm just wondering if that's something that, I know that's going to be a lot to handle, putting a whole new system in there, but is there something that we could get water in the meantime?
So looking at small decentralized water supply systems for communities like that, I think that's where a decentralized water supply system is a better solution. You're probably likely, we've got the West Side PER. That's already been out there. That's something we've been working on for a couple of years now that looks at places like Hebron, Mardella, Sharptown, all that. That's a major long-term project that you would be running sewer a long, long ways. When you've got your smaller little rural communities, like Tyaskin, for example, are you ever going to run pipe down there?
No.
Highly unlikely. Certainly not in our lifetimes. Would a decentralized, small water supply system start to alleviate some of the issues people have on those lots? Yeah, certainly.
That's what I.
Do we have any of those on our plate yet, right now?
No.
No, and that's what we're hoping to have the technical advisory board say. These are areas we would like you to investigate next. Right now, the Parsonsburg, Old Ocean City Road, this is ad hoc decision-making that, the team, we work on every 2 weeks, myself and Amanda Pollock and
Would that be a 10-year turnaround to get water in Mardella?
like the full municipal system in Mardella like that?
Yeah.
For the whole town? I don't know that I would put a date on. I don't know that I'd put a.
All right, I just.
Weren't we first looking at the system that was in Mardella High? Weren't we looking at?
So that's a wastewater treatment system, package plant that has a surface water discharge. In the PER for the west side.
Let me interrupt you.
Sorry.
I want to move on.
Yes, sir.
It's not in the CIP. We're okay.
Okay.
It wasn't the original master plan.
Sorry about that.
I just wanna move on.
10-4. Yep. Sorry about that. Yep. My fault.
Pam, I had a thought. The Maryland Water Infrastructure Finance Administration with the $5.5 million loan for Salisbury,
Yes.
see if they'll cut us a good deal on the loan since we're forward funding Fruitland Elementary.
I wish.
And we have no idea what we're getting. We're not getting paid a dime for that, I bet. Department projects are next, right?
So roads is next. And so the way we handle roads on here is standard resurfacing road list is handled through the operating budget. These are major replacement of pipes, rebuilding the road. That's what typically goes on the CIP for the roads division. So, the standard just repaving, we don't put that on here because that is handled in the operating budget, and that is handled based on a list that roads maintains, and then based on funding and the availability of those who are able to do our paving can accomplish in the paving season. Again, these are identified projects that primarily either have a bridge issue, have a culvert issue, have a major rebuilding issue to them, and that's why they go on this list. And this list has been identified and prioritized by the roads division. The one thing you will notice on here that we had not been historically putting on here is the ferry and the need to renovate, redo the ferry every 2 to 3 years. And so that has now been added to the CIP, so we keep it in our, keep it in the forefront that to have those 2 ferries, that this is the cost. We are looking at, it is not built into this, we are looking at the concept of what would it cost to have a 3rd ferry, so that when one is pulled out to do the rebuild, the extra one could be put in. That is a very preliminary, and that is why that is not included in here. That is something, though, that we're working on, but we wanted council to be aware because we hear it. People get upset when the ferry is out for as long as it is, but by maritime law, we have to do what we're doing with the ferry. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it at all. So the question becomes is what would it cost to have a 3rd one available for when we have to take one out of service? That is not built in this. That is something that we're looking at. Any questions on any of the specific roads projects?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. I know you didn't want
No, I asked the question, so I'm looking for your questions.
Yeah, Short Bridge. Do we have confirmation from the state that they are going to do that egress from Warwick? I see you got 200,000 for this year.
Yeah.
Now,
Go ahead.
we've been trying to do, and I'm fully in agreement because that'll take a load off that intersection. But I don't know that we need to do the 200,000 if they've not, then we need to see that on paper.
What I'll do for the interest of this conversation, what I'm happy to do for you is get you a synopsis of where it stands right now today, after having the most recent conversations with the state, with Warwick. Ms. Tracy Taylor is involved on the project as well. And I can get you a synopsis for it, but effectively, the deed has to be, it has to be deeded. The state has agreed to that. Now we're getting our core sampling done so that we can finish the design portion of it. So yeah, we're there.
They resisted it for so many years. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, I of course, coming into that very, very late in the game.
I started this thing.
Yeah. Well, come on.
Boy, why don't you get an egress?
Yeah. I mean, look, it makes sense from a traffic standpoint. We're working on it diligently right now. Again, we even brought in, Tracy to come in on the team as well for it. So let me get with her. Let me get you a synopsis. I'll send it to Ms. Hurley if you don't mind, and I think you'll like what you see. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions on roads?
Can we get a status on Barron Creek?
Certainly. So on Barron Creek, I just want to make sure that everybody knows where we actually stand with that. This projected max cost is from KCI's most recent upgrade. I do want, just so you have it, and I can certainly leave the package with you, not only have we applied for state aid, our permitting, the permitting that had previously existed in 2019 to 2024, which is currently being renewed. That's for your permit authorization to conduct work in that sensitive area, wetlands and everything else. But just for the record, here's 100% plans right here. That was that original submittal that went in for this authorization. Those plans have been revised to allow for roads division to do the project in-house versus hiring it out. Instead of going with the dam structure, you go with a 3 culvert section like we do other roads, which makes it less costly than it would be to go with a different type of design. So that's one of the revisions we asked KCI for last year, which they submitted to us. And then the final piece right now is KCI working with the Department of the Environment on the wetlands issue. So, I mean, the project's here. Besides having ink on authorization forms, it is a shovel-ready project if the county's interested in moving forward.
When you say fiscal year 28,
Yeah.
going to be, the county's going to obligate it $300,000, is that it? End of project done? Because
That'd be
there's
the-
nothing else after fiscal year 28, there's nothing else which would leave you to conclude
I
that
believe you
300,000
could,
is it.
at that estimate, you could build it and be done, and you walk away besides roads maintenance, or regular roads maintenance.
Okay.
That's,
You have to understand, a lot of the CIP sometimes is on a wing and a prayer.
Sure.
You know, good faith in evaluating $8 million projects
Yeah.
and saying, okay, we'll go with it. And the council, I think, as a whole, is a little bit gun shy. We've been a little bit gun shy. There was, a lot of problems with Barron Creek expenses, not understanding that. Situation where the dredging issue was an absolute disaster, the $7 million, and you walked into all this. I get it. And you're doing an excellent job, I think, in trying to separate all the parties. But that's why, we're somewhat reluctant in
Understood.
moving forward, and we want to try to make sure that we're not trying to micromanage, but trying to make sure we get a really great idea of what's happening.
well, I totally understand that, and I appreciate it. Like I say, I do have that. Was certainly happy to share the whole packet with Ms. Hurley as well, so you guys could digest it.
Okay.
But, I mean, effectively, from what we have here, if the county wants to proceed with Barron Creek, we can do it, and we can do it in short order.
Just for clarity, we can build a entire bridge for 1.75.
That would be the new money.
The culverts.
That would be the new money that we would need to add to the money that we still have remaining.
We have
from
monies in the
ori-
bank, already.
So remaining from the original project.
Total cost,
So, where is it? So we borrowed $850,000 previously. So all in with all plan revision, right now, the current estimate is $2.6 million.
The 800 was the county's, and
Yeah.
of the rest of it is only another 300, so it's about 11 for the county, or 1.1 for the county
Yes.
total.
And then the rest we would be able to get from the state.
Yep, not a bad price for a road.
just clarity, we have gotten a commitment from the state or not, or?
Sir, on that funding portion,
Yeah.
so the state aid portion has been submitted. Confirmation on that particular piece, that is, we're anticipating to receive. We would have to get it to make it happen, sure,
What's the timing on that? When do you, 'cause we were talking about this a year ago to try to say, okay, can you get the
Certainly.
state to commit?
What's the timeline?
It was submitted probably 3 weeks ago.
So it'd be 3 months minimum.
And
90
so,
90
and
days
again,
to 120 days.
we're currently having it planned for 2028, not 2027.
Yeah, so we'd have some time to make sure that's there.
Other questions on the projects, Dave?
Just, yeah, permitting wise, you may have mentioned it, Adam, but permitting wise, where are we on that?
Yeah, we're having all of our authorizations renewed as we speak. KCI is our engineer on retainer for this particular project. They're working with Karen Hoy and everybody over there at MDE for the wetlands issue, title and non-title, excuse me. Then also with the state as well, with the bridge registry, the dam versus the bridge and all that kind of stuff. We've been working on that with those folks. So all in all,
It sounds like the go signs.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. There's no one telling us we can't do it.
And you said 100% plan there. Is that revised back to, hearing some of the historical, back to some of the original plans, or was that
let me
something
give
more
you-
recent? I'm just curious.
Let me give you the date on this one, because this one's actually got a little bit of age on it. This was October of 2020, when we had this 100% plan set. Then we've had a revision since, which was received by us in September, October of this recent year. And
25.
yeah, 2025. And then we have our final wetlands survey work being performed. Well, it's done. We're waiting on that submission. We should have that by the second week of February.
Which includes the culvert idea.
Correct.
As opposed to. so
Yes.
that- I'm assuming, hearing some of the numbers I heard before, that the culvert idea or.
definitely cheaper.
Design was much, much cheaper.
It is, and it's something we can do in-house too, where, before you're going to hire it out, the roads division's very good at culvert-style crossovers. Yeah, they're second to none.
That was done culvert style, right?
That was a whole bunch of other stuff. That was
Which-
a whole bunch of other stuff.
which one?
That was the
Knocked that
dam.
out. I mean, the county couldn't handle that. I don't know. I don't know.
No, that was, what was that? That was Morris Mill.
Oh, Morse
Started
Mill.
out at-
Yeah,
about
I remember that
Ended
one.
up being 3 million to.
But it also, was significant, if I remember correctly, that one was significantly deeper as well.
I'm not sure. A lot of the goalposts got changed while they were in the middle of just getting all the
We
work done.
bid into it thinking it was only gonna cost a little bit, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
cost a lot, took forever to get it
Yeah.
done, so.
That's exactly what's going to happen here.
Well,
I do remember that taking forever, and I live that way, so I had to go around it, and it was, you know,
well, we never had a detour. You just had to figure out where to go.
yeah, it jumped real high.
All right.
I just want to reiterate your comments about being gun shy, and yes, we are,
Yeah.
and skeptical to boot, and we've seen some other variations, but, you know, this sounds like the plan is finally coming together. I mean, it has been quite the twisted road coming to this point, but
Yeah. Well, like I say, planning document, we've got it in front of you. Certainly happy to submit this packet to Ms. Hurley so you can look at it, and we can talk further about it if we want to, yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
And then
Couple more things.
the last part is solid waste.
Oh, did I miss it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I'll gladly, but I have a feeling you guys would have some questions on solid waste, so we'll do solid waste.
Sorry about that.
These are the projects that have been discussed, and most of these projects are things that have been discussed with council during some of our solid waste updates. I will mention that the gas well upgrades, there's a typo in that one. That project is not $3.36 million. It is $2 million, and currently estimated all $2 million of that is going to come from state grant. So I apologize. I went back today to look at my documentation, and I can't find how I came up with that number. So I readily admit it needs to be changed. It's a decrease, and instead of it coming from $3.2 million coming from enterprise fund, we're looking at $2 million coming from state funding. So
You'll remember, this is part of the presentation for the landfill when we talked about WAGA, where we had to upgrade our well fields. We had it on the slides. The estimate is 1.5 to 2 on our well field upgrades, and the LGEM, Local Government Energy Modernization Grant, that the county has up to 3.2 million promised to it for these types of projects, landfills specifically, gas to energy. That was where those numbers came from.
and I think that's how I got the 3.2 in
Yes, I
total.
think so too.
And it just, I confused which column, and so that would before adoption, that would need to be corrected. Because it is a 27 project, and again, we're estimating it's going to come all from state grant and not come from the enterprise fund.
Any other questions in reference to Phase 3, the Newland Park expansion, the convenience center, or the mechanic shop? Anybody? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
You say you can do Barron Creek in-house,
Yes.
okay.
The physical construction and site oversight work, yes.
I see the condition our roads are in, I see the things that, you got in the CIP, and I see the things that you need to do on a daily basis, and then you got these other roads that you're gonna work on. You have the staff to even do that? I mean, it seems to me that you're not keeping up with what, no disrespect, you're not keeping up with what needs to be done now, and you wanna take on a project like that, I think you're gonna be just exactly like what we ended up at Morrisville. You're gonna dig in, find out that you got more.
Sure. So,
Do you really think that's something that you need to be getting into?
well, I will take that under advisement, certainly.
I think it's a good idea. If he's going to take that under advisement, he's going to take that under
I'm
advisement.
gonna ask you.
I will definitely take that under advisement, and I certainly appreciate the comment, and I do understand where the concern would be. I do not want to put the county in a bad position. We certainly don't want to have our employees not, our employees need to be going home at the end of the day feeling proud about the work they complete as well.
And then
So,
saying a bite off,
yeah, don't bite off more than you can chew. I hear it loud and clear. Yeah,
you're talking about taxpayer dollars.
understood.
It's we've got roads and issues and water and sewer and
Yep,
all
certainly.
the other stuff that's going on.
And just so it says in the description there, Barron Creek Road, that a large rain event took it out in 2016, July. That's just one of the series of events where that thing got taken out. We fixed it 4 years before that, and then they had to repair it in 2016. It was 2012, and then they had it again, and it was 8 years before that. I mean, you could go down the line, the amount of times that specific road was washed out, closed, had an issue. So just bringing that up I know you know what you're doing as you take these things on, but that's literally some moving sands that almost always seem to cause an issue. Saying is that as someone who grew up there and was around that all the time.
And you don't want to be riding around the county looking at problems.
I mean, hey, look, you send me the pictures, I'll do my best to get them taken care of.
Thank you very much.
All right?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
You'll give
Good
that stuff to
evening.
Laura when you get it.
What's that?
Laura will get all that stuff.
Yes, I'm gonna get, I gotta clean this packet
Already
up
got
for you,
it.
but yep, certainly.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
We are,
If I can get the
Now we got a closed session.
we're going into closed session, so.
John, John, out of here by now.